Emily Carter never planned for anything unusual to happen that Thursday. She had spent most of the day at university, tired from back-to-back classes and a rainy walk home through Seattle's cold streets. All she wanted was warmth, dinner, and maybe a quiet conversation with her stepbrother, Liam, who had always been polite but distant. Their home wasn't loud or chaotic, it was calm, almost too calm, like a place filled with unspoken thoughts. Emily had grown used to the silence, even though she wished someone would break it once in a while. When she stepped inside that evening, the house was dim and still. Her stepfather wouldn't be home until late, and her stepmother was away visiting relatives. It was just her and Liam, which wasn't unusual, but something in the air felt different, lighter, but strangely tense. Emily pushed her wet hair back and climbed the stairs, planning to ask Liam if he wanted pizza. It felt like a small chance to make the house feel more like a real home, something she secretly wanted ever since their families merged. Liam's door was slightly open. That alone caught her attention. Usually kept it closed, as if the room protected him from the world. Emily hesitated, but then she heard a soft sound, almost like murmuring. Not crying, not talking, just something. It was enough to push her curiosity forward. She stepped closer, telling herself she wasn't doing anything wrong. She wasn't spying. She wasn't invading privacy. She was just checking. That's all. But even she didn't believe that thought entirely when she pushed the door open. She expected to see Liam studying, listening to music, or maybe asleep. But instead, he was sitting on the floor with his back turned to her. Around him were scattered papers, small items, and a wooden box with metal corners. The room felt heavy with memories Emily didn't recognize. Before she could speak, Liam turned his head quickly. His eyes widened. He looked more surprised than angry, like someone caught in a moment he wasn't prepared to share. Emily. His voice shook slightly, something she had never heard from him. What are you doing? She froze for a second, embarrassed, but then she stepped inside. I just came to ask about dinner. The door was open. I didn't mean to. Her words stopped when she noticed an object near his knee, a small silver hospital bracelet. The name on it made her heart jolt. Carter. Her last name. Her curiosity sharpened instantly, but not in a nosy way. It was like her heart recognized something before her mind did. She moved closer without thinking. Liam, she whispered, why does that have my last name? He moved his hand quickly to cover it, but it was too late. The damage was done. His shoulders tensed, and he closed his eyes for a moment, like he was trying to steady himself. You weren't supposed to see this, he finally said. Shh, quiet, almost defeated. Emily sat down slowly across from him. Her heart was racing, but she tried to stay calm, not wanting to make him feel cornered. She saw letters with faded ink, photographs curled with age, and small keepsakes that looked like they meant something important. None of it made sense. Why would Liam have anything connected to her family? They didn't grow up together. They barely knew each other's childhood stories. She reached toward one of the letters, and Liam instinctively moved his hand to stop her, but then he stopped himself. His fingers trembled as he pulled the box closer to his chest. He looked, torn, not angry, but deeply conflicted. Like he was fighting an old wound he never intended to reveal. Liam, Emily said gently, you can tell me what this is. I'm not going to judge you. I don't understand. He let out a long, shaky breath and stared down at the wooden box. There was a soft sadness in his eyes Emily had never seen. Something vulnerable, something honest, something human. It's not what you think, he said, voice low. But it's something I've kept hidden for a long time. And I didn't want anyone, especially you, to find out. His choice of words caught her attention. Especially you. It made something warm and uneasy flutter inside her chest, but she pushed that feeling away. This wasn't the time. Emily's mind raced with possibilities. Was this about their parents? A medical emergency? A childhood connection? She tried to read Liam's expression, but he was too hard to decipher, too. Guarded by years of silence. "What is all of this?" she asked softly, nodding toward the box. He didn't answer right away. The rain outside tapped gently against the window, filling the silence between them. Emily felt like the entire house was holding its breath, waiting for him to speak. Finally, Liam reached into the box and pulled out one of the letters. The paper was thin, fragile, and the ink had faded into a soft brown. He held it with a reverence Emily didn't understand. "This," he said carefully, "is from someone who meant a lot to me when I was very young. Someone I barely remember, but someone I've always felt connected to." Emily saw her mother's familiar handwriting before he even handed it to her. Her breath caught, her chest tightened. She felt the ground shift beneath her. "No," she whispered. "My mom wrote this?" Liam nodded, the sadness deepening in his eyes. "Yeah, and there's more." Emily stared at the letter, unable to open it. Her hands were trembling too much. Her mother passed away when Emily was only 15. She had spent years wishing for one more story, one more memory, one more piece of her mother that she didn't already know. And now, suddenly, that missing piece was in Liam's hands. "But how?" she asked. "Why would she write to you? You said you never met her." Liam pressed his lips together as if choosing his next words carefully. "It's complicated, and I don't know how to explain it all at once." Emily felt her heart beating faster, not in fear, but in anticipation. She wasn't upset with him. She wasn't angry. She was confused, yes, but there was something else, to a strange closeness forming between them, as if this secret had quietly tied their lives together long before she walked into the room. She looked at the box again, at the bracelet, the photographs, at the letter she still couldn't bring herself to open. "Liam," she said softly, "please don't shut me out. I think I need to know." But instead of answering, he stood up suddenly, almost too quickly. He picked up the box and held it against his chest. "Not tonight," he said, his voice tight. "I need time." Before she could speak again, he walked past her and left the room. The sound of his footsteps down the hallway echoed louder than they should have in the quiet house. Emily stayed on the floor for a long moment, staring at the doorway he disappeared through. Her heart was racing, her mind spinning. She had walked in hoping for a simple conversation about dinner. Instead, she uncovered the beginning of a secret that changed everything she thought she knew about her family and about Liam. And deep down, she knew this was only the beginning. Emily barely slept that night. Her mind kept circling the same questions, replaying the same images: Liam sitting on the floor with that wooden box, the hospital bracelet with her last name, the letter written in her mother's handwriting. She had lived with Liam for 2 years, shared meals with him, passed him in hallways, watched him quietly avoid emotional conversations, and yet she knew almost nothing about the world he kept locked inside. Now she had seen a piece of it, and she couldn't forget it. The next morning, the house was silent again. Liam's door was closed. Emily didn't knock. She knew he needed time, but she also knew she needed answers. Her mother had always been a gentle, private woman. Emily believed she knew everything important about her. But this was something big, something hidden, something that connected their families long before the marriages and the blending of homes. By noon, Emily saw Liam downstairs pouring himself coffee. His shoulders were tense and his eyes looked tired, like he hadn't slept either. When he noticed her, he paused. There was a strange mixture of worry and apology in his expression. "Morning," he said quietly. "Liam, can we talk?" Didn't answer right away. Then he nodded once and sat at the kitchen table. Emily sat across from him, feeling the weight of the moment settle between them. No small talk, no soft edges. Just honesty waiting to be spoken. "Can you tell me the truth now?" she asked, trying to keep her voice gentle but steady. Liam looked down at his hands. "I wasn't hiding it because I wanted to keep secrets. From you, I was hiding it because I didn't know how to understand it myself." Emily leaned forward. Please, just tell me. He took a deep breath, as if gathering pieces of a memory he had kept scattered for years. When I was little, he began, my mom struggled a lot. She was doing everything alone. Moved around, stayed with relatives, sometimes friends. She rarely talked about those years, except to say she wished things had been easier. Emily listened carefully, sensing there was more behind his words than simple hardship. One day, he continued, I found a box in her closet. I was probably 7 or 8. It had letters from someone she wrote about like she owed everything to her. Woman she called the person who saved us. She never said the woman's name. Just her. Emily's heart tugged with emotion. When my mom passed away, Liam said, his voice tightening, I took the box. I didn't understand everything, but I knew it meant something. Years later, I opened the letters again. And that's when I saw your mother's name. Emily felt her breath catch. Her mother connected to Liam before he even knew her. It didn't feel real. She helped my mom during the hardest time, Liam said. She comforted her. She supported her. She even helped take care of me for a few weeks when I got sick. He paused, swallowing hard. Those photos you saw? Your mom is in some of them, holding me, smiling with my mom. Emily felt her chest tighten. She had never seen those photos, never heard those stories, never known her mother had played such a role in someone else's life. But why didn't your mom ever tell you who she was? Emily asked softly. Because, he said, choosing. His words carefully. Something happened between them, something that made them grow distant. My mom wrote about it in her last letter, how she regretted losing touch, how she wished she had said thank you one last time. But she never explained what actually happened. A quiet sadness filled his voice. She kept those items as her way of holding on, and now they're all I have left. Emily felt emotion rise in her throat. She didn't know what her mother had gone through before she was born. She didn't know her mother had a friend like Liam's mother, a friendship deep enough to shape someone else's life. Why didn't you tell me when we first met? She asked gently, not accusing, just wondering. Liam looked away, his expression vulnerable. 'Cause I didn't want you to think I was using your family to fill the emptiness left by mine. I didn't want to make you uncomfortable. And I didn't know if your mom ever mentioned us to your father. Emily shook her head. She didn't. Not once. Liam nodded slowly, as if he expected that. I thought so. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Emily watched him carefully, his quiet struggle, his careful restraint. The way he carried the weight of his past like something fragile he didn't know where to place. Then he reached into his pocket and pulled out something small, a folded photograph. He placed it on the table and slid it toward her. Emily hesitated before picking it up. It was a picture of her mother much younger, smiling in a way Emily hadn't seen in years. She was seated on a hospital bed, holding a small toddler with dark hair and bright eyes. Emily pressed a hand to her mouth. Overwhelmed. She cared about you, she whispered. She really cared. Liam nodded. And I never understood. Why? Not really. Not until I saw the last letter. Emily's eyes widened. There was another letter. The one you didn't show me yesterday. He nodded again, slower this time. It was addressed to both of us. Emily's pulse quickened. What did it say? I didn't read it, he admitted. Not yet. I didn't want to read it alone. Emily felt her heart soften at the honesty in his voice. For the first time since she walked in on him, she saw the truth clearly. Liam wasn't protecting secrets. He was protecting memories, and he wasn't pushing her away. He was scared of misunderstanding, scared of losing family again, scared of opening something that could change everything. Can we read it together? Emily asked. Liam met them for the first time in days. His expression softened, and there was a quiet warmth there she hadn't seen before. Yeah, he said quietly. Think we should. He stood up and walked toward the stairs. Emily followed him, feeling a strange mix of fear, hope, and anticipation. This wasn't just about the past anymore. It was about the connection forming between them, a connection neither of them planned, but one that already felt too real to ignore. When they reached his room, Liam hesitated at the door, then opened. It slowly. The box was still on the floor. Waiting, he knelt beside it and lifted the final unopened envelope. "This is the one," he whispered. Emily sat beside him, her breath unsteady, and then, just before he opened it, Liam looked at her with a seriousness that sent a soft chill down her spine. "Emily, there's something in here that might change how you see everything. Didn't look away. Then let's read it." And with that, he broke the seal. Liam didn't open the letter right away. He held it carefully, almost like it was something alive, something that needed gentleness. Emily waited beside him, her heartbeat louder than the quiet room. She could sense he was nervous, not because of the letter, but because opening it meant facing memories he had kept hidden for years. Finally, he set the envelope aside and exhaled. "Before we read it," he said softly, "I need you to understand something." Emily nodded, afraid to interrupt. "I've spent my whole life feeling disconnected," he continued. "Not just from people, but from myself. It always felt like something was missing. Something I was supposed to know, but never learned." His voice wavered. "Finding your mother's letters. They were the first time something made sense." Emily felt a pull in her chest. She had never seen him open up like this. For 2 years, Liam had been quiet, guarded, polite, but distant. Now she saw the truth. He wasn't cold. He was carrying a loneliness that had shaped him. "And then you moved in," he said, looking down. "And everything got even more confusing." Emily blinked. "Confusing how?" He hesitated. "'Cause every time you walked into a room, something inside me felt less empty. But I didn't know if it was because you're your mother's daughter or because it was something else." Emily felt warmth rise in her face, but she stayed quiet, letting him speak. "And I didn't want you to think that I was trying to replace something or someone in your life." His voice grew softer. "But the truth is, you've made this house feel like home in a way I never expected." Emily felt her breath unsteady. She knew these were not dramatic words. They were honest, vulnerable, real. She reached out instinctively, touching his hand not romantically, but gently, like offering steady ground to someone who had been drowning alone. "Liam," she whispered. "Thank you for telling me." He looked up, and for a moment, the room felt different, warmer, quieter. Like the world had paused just for the two of them. But then Liam cleared his throat and placed the letter between them. "We should read it now." Emily nodded, and he opened the envelope. Inside was a single sheet of paper written in the same soft handwriting Emily had memorized years ago. But before they started reading, a sudden wave of emotion hit her, and she pulled her hand away, afraid her voice might crack. "Wait," she said, steadying herself. "Can we sit somewhere else? Somewhere that doesn't feel so heavy?" Liam nodded immediately. They moved to the backyard, where string lights hung along the old wooden fence. The early evening sky was painted in muted gold and soft blue, giving the air a peaceful glow. They sat on the steps, a little cold, a little worn, but comforting. Liam smoothed out the letter, and Emily leaned closer to see. The first line made Emily's breath catch. "If you're reading this, then life has brought the two of you together, in a way I always hoped it would." Emily's eyes filled, but she blinked the tears away. She needed clarity, not blurry words. Her mother wrote about her friendship with Liam's mother, how they leaned on each other, how they survived difficult days by sharing strength. She wrote about how she cared for little Liam, how she felt a deep connection to him, as if he were someone she was meant to protect. But then the letter shifted. Her mother revealed she had always sensed that Emily and Liam might one day end up in the same family, not because of fate, but because of the kindness each carried. She wrote that if they ever met again, she hoped they would support each other through life. "You both carry pieces of my heart," the letter read. "And if you ever feel lost, I hope you find comfort in each other." Emily felt tears fall. Silently. Not from sadness, just from the overwhelming feeling of being understood by someone who was no longer alive. Liam read the words carefully, his brows knit with emotion. When he finished, he folded the letter gently, as if afraid to crease it. Neither spoke for a long moment. Finally, Liam said quietly, "Your mother. She saw something in us before we even existed in each other's lives." Emily nodded, wiping her cheeks. She always understood people in ways that didn't make sense at the time. Liam looked at her, then really looked, and Emily felt that same pull again, that quiet connection, growing stronger with every shared truth. But there was something else there now, something fragile, something warm. "You know," he said slowly, "I think she wanted us to have someone we could trust. Someone who understood loss. Someone who understood hope." Emily looked down at her hands. "I think she wanted us to not feel alone." Liam's voice softened. "Do you still feel alone?" She shook her head. "Not right now." The silence that followed wasn't uncomfortable. It was peaceful, like the space between two people who were slowly learning each other's hearts. Then Liam spoke again, his tone more hesitant. "Emily, do you ever wonder what we would have been like if our parents had stayed friends? If we had grown up knowing each other?" Emily smiled sadly. "I think we would have cared about each other earlier. But maybe we weren't meant to meet until now." He exhaled as if those words eased something inside him. But before they could say anything more, the wind picked up, blowing the string lights gently. Emily shivered, and without thinking, Liam shifted closer, not too close, but enough that she felt his warmth. She didn't move away. It didn't feel wrong. It didn't feel strange. It felt natural, like two people finding light after years in different kinds of darkness. There was no romance in the air, just something deep. It's quiet and unspoken. It's a bond forming in real time as they sat there. Emily realized that the secret she uncovered wasn't just about their past. It was about their future, how they would move forward with the truth, how they would learn to trust each other, how they would shape this unexpected connection. Liam finally broke the silence. "There's something I need to tell you," he said softly. "It's not about the past. It's about how I've felt since you moved in." Emily looked up, her heart skipping. But before he could continue, the back door opened, and the sound of a car pulling into the driveway interrupted them. They both turned, startled. Their moment broke, suspended in midair. Unfinished. Emily didn't know what Liam had been about to confess, and Liam didn't know if he would still have the courage to say it later. But the quiet truth lingered between them, unspoken but unmistakably real. The next morning began with a strange silence in the house, the kind that makes you feel something important is about to happen. Everyone woke early because the atmosphere had changed after last night's emotional conversation. The tension that once filled every corner of the house now felt lighter, as if someone had finally opened a window and let fresh air in. But still, nobody knew how the day would unfold. Emotions were fragile, and everyone was careful with their words. The mother stepped into the kitchen first, trying to keep herself busy. She cut fruit, made tea, and arranged plates, even though no one had asked for breakfast yet. She wanted the morning to start calmly, as if calmness could erase the fear that had lived inside her heart for so long. When she turned around, she found her son standing there quietly. His calm eyes made her feel both proud and emotional. "Good morning," he said softly. "Good morning," she replied, forcing a small smile. She wasn't sure how to act after everything they talked about last night. She didn't want her emotions to overwhelm him, not anymore. But today, this son didn't look confused or scared like he had before. He walked closer, pulled out a chair, and sat down beside her. Like he had something important to say. He didn't rush. He didn't hesitate. For the first time in a long time, he spoke with steady confidence. "I've been thinking about everything," he began. "I know things got difficult. I know we all made mistakes without realizing. But I don't want our home to stay heavy forever. I want us to move forward." His voice was firm, yet gentle. The mother felt tears sting her eyes, but she held them back. She didn't want to interrupt him. He continued, I realize that. Love doesn't disappear just because someone breaks down. And it doesn't grow because someone sacrifices themselves. Love grows when we understand each other. Last night, I understood you more than ever. The mother lowered her head, overwhelmed by the honesty in his words. But he gently touched her hand and encouraged her to look up. You've always been strong, he said, stronger than you think. You don't need to carry everything alone. I'm here, and you don't have to prove anything to me. Her heart softened. For years, she believed she had to be perfect mother, perfect wife, perfect guide. The pressure had crushed her, and she didn't realize how much she had been hurting herself. Now, hearing her son say she didn't have to be strong, alone made the weight slip off her shoulders. Before she could speak, the father entered the kitchen, rubbing his eyes. His expression showed worry. He didn't know whether the peace from last night would last. But when he saw his wife and son sitting together calmly, he breathed a quiet sigh of relief. Morning, he said, taking a seat. The son looked at both of them with determination. We need to talk, all of us. And not about problems, about solutions. The mother wiped her eyes quickly and nodded. The father leaned forward as the son continued. We've spent so much time being afraid to hurt each other that we ended up hurting each other even more. That needs to stop. He turned to his father. Dad, you always tried to fix things by yourself. But sometimes fixing things alone makes others feel left out. The father listened carefully, accepting the truth without getting defensive. Then, the son turned to his mother. And Mom, you always try to protect everyone. But sometimes you protect us so much that you forget to protect yourself. The mother took a shaky breath, feeling seen in a way she hadn't felt in years. And me, the son added. I stayed quiet to avoid making things worse. But silence creates confusion, not peace. All three of them sat together, absorbing the honesty. Each sentence felt like opening a window to let light into a dark room. The son continued. We can't change the past, but we can change how we move forward. Last night showed us that talking openly is better than hiding pain. Today, I want us to promise that we'll really talk whenever something feels wrong. The parents exchanged a look filled with agreement. The father spoke first. You're right. I didn't realize how distant I had become. I thought I was helping by staying quiet, but I see now that it only made things worse. The mother added, and I wasn't honest with my feelings because I didn't want to burden anyone. But keeping everything inside only made the pressure grow. For a moment, the son looked at both of them, relieved. Then let's make a new start. Not just with words, but actions. He stood up, walked toward the living room, and gestured for them to follow. In the center of the room, he said, no more silence, no more fear, no more pretending everything is fine when it's not. The mother and father joined him. The father placed his hand on his wife's shoulder, and the wife held her son's hand. It felt like the first time in years they were united not by routine but by choice. The son continued, we're a family. But being a family doesn't mean hiding our feelings. It means trusting each other with them. The mother suddenly stepped forward and embraced her son tightly, tears finally escaping her eyes, not from pain, but from relief. She whispered, I'm proud of you, more than you know. The father stretched his hand over both of them, joining the embrace. The three of them stayed like that for a long moment, healing silently in each other's warmth. After they separated, the father laughed quietly. You know, today feels like the first real morning we've had in years. The mother agreed. Maybe because we're finally growing together instead of growing apart. The son smiled. Then let's keep doing that. Let's keep choosing each other. The rest of the day flowed with a new energy. They cleaned the living room together, reorganized the shelves, even cooked lunch as a team. There were no awkward pauses or hidden fears, only gentle conversations and soft laughter. By evening, the home felt different. Not perfect, but peaceful. strong, connected that when the sun set. The son stepped onto the balcony, taking in the fresh air. His mother joined him, resting her hand on his shoulder. "This morning," she said, "I saw the man you're becoming. You're thoughtful, you're kind, and you carry love in a way that makes others feel safe." The son looked at her with soft eyes. "I learned that from you." She smiled proudly, and for the first time in months, her heart felt light. Inside the house, the father called them in for dinner, his voice warm and easy as they walked inside. The son realized something important. The home wasn't healed because the problems disappeared. The home healed because they stopped running from each other. They chose honesty. They chose understanding. They chose love. And that choice changed everything.